Okay, there we go. Okay. All right. Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the this month's mixer. As I mentioned something earlier, Eric was supposed to be doing tonight, but he forgot that he had this big trip planned out to Halifax today. So I don't know how you forget about that one. I'll have to talk to him a little bit because he showed me his pass today, and he said he only paid $23 for the ticket out to Halifax. So I'm not too sure how that happened. He wanted to know what kind of service he was going to get for that. I told him it would be the unheated cargo bay that he'll be located in. So we'll see what happens there. Okay, just to remind everybody that our meetings are recorded and we will be made available on YouTube for public viewing. Tonight we have Kevin is going to give us a little talk about on restoring electronics part 1. Tonight we also have I guess 3 show and tells, Al, Marty, and Ken. And I have a little quickie there. Hopefully you find interesting. I calling it technology today. 2 of my thoughts on it. And if there's time permitting, we'll do a round table as well. So I guess really, Kevin, are you ready to get started?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, no problem. All right.
Okay, so share screen here. Finding the right window here. Okay, everybody see that?
Yep.
There we go.
Okay. All right. And if everybody could mute their mics, just there's some background coming through there. Anyway, okay, excellent. So yeah, my favorite way to start is always with an XKCD cartoon, and this is kind of relevant. I don't know if you can read the detail on there, but so anyway, this is, I'm going to take a page from Dave's approach to this stuff. One is that I'm not an expert in this. This is something that I've decided to do, and it's like, okay, I'm going to take a few pictures and make some notes along the way and share if and what I learn anything, and maybe you guys have some suggestions too, because some of you, I suspect, have probably done more of this than I have, and maybe you have some, something to add. I don't know. So anyway, that said, so I've got this old piece of stuff hanging around, and it's this old Commodore PET computer with a data set. So it's over 40 years old. My father bought it and he never got rid of it. And it has not been powered up since like early 1980s.
Kevin?
So, yeah.
Do you want to take questions at the end or during?
No, during is fine.
Okay, so, Dave. All right, Dave, you have a question for Kevin?
No, I was just trying to clap hands to show my interest in the Commodore.
Sorry for the interruption, Kevin. I won't have.
Yeah, that's okay. It's like this is not a long presentation. This is just, like I said, it was exploring what is it going to take to hopefully bring this thing back to life without smoke. I know you guys like smoke, but it's like I can only imagine what getting parts for this thing is going to be like if something isn't working right. That said, you know what? When you start going down the internet rabbit hole, it's amazing the websites that have data out there. They've got full schematics. You can download the images of the ROMs, like the EEPROMs and stuff that are in there. You can download full images, various versions and all this kind of stuff, all kinds of troubleshooting forums. It's like, here I thought I was going to be kind of, not by myself, but, limited resources. Like, oh no, there's all kinds of stuff out there, man. So anyway, it's in pretty good shape, believe it or not, but it's not, but I thought before I power it up, I want to kind of do as much as I can to make sure things don't go the wrong way. Right. So anyway, there's now, okay, I should have put this other slide first. you're never going to see a computer with a rod to pop the hood. It's like, I didn't even know this was there until I like, what the heck is this thing? Oh yeah, it's like for lifting the hood. So anyway, that's what it looks like inside. There's one board, one main board, you know, transformer, a low voltage, I think it's the 5-volt power supply capacitor. And then there's another board up top for the high voltage in the keyboard and stuff. So it's been sitting for gosh knows how long. There's some rust there. There's bits of bugs and stuff and everything all over it. And there's some corrosion and dirt and that sort of thing. So I thought, you know, it's probably best to give it a good, you know, start with a good cleaning, right? Anyway, so yeah, that's the pop the hood thing. The data set, I mean, this thing, it almost looks pristine. I mean, I took the cover off, and other than you can see, I rotated the belt a little bit. So you can see the belt is so slack. It's got a permanent kink in it there. So it needs a new belt. And there's still flux on the board, which I was, you know, obviously they never cleaned it very well. So I'm going to do that as well. But otherwise it looks, and I couldn't believe like the thickness of this metal. This thing's heavy duty. There's no, you know, there's no cheap injection molded plastic. Well, there is, but the frame is solid. It's like all the mechanisms work great. They're still lubricated and everything. So anyway, so this is some more close-up shots of some of the stuff that's on the circuit board. Like down here, there's, I don't know if it's mold and some dirt and that sort of thing, contamination on the edge of the card. I'm not even sure what these connectors are for. You know, one of the nuts or one of the screws that holds down the circuit board was all rusted. And in fact, oh, you can see it there on the board. I used some penetrating fluid to get that rust off so I could get the screw out so I could get the board out, and it cleaned the board a little bit there. But anyway, so and just but overall, actually, the board is not bad. I'm just going to flip over here. I've got some other pictures, some close-ups here. Let me just, whoops. Okay, I'm just going to, whoops. No, wrong one. Let's click on the sharing. I'm going to share a different window here for a second. So everybody see that? So that, just a close-up of some of the circuit boards. It's actually not bad. And what I was worried about was the capacitors, right? I mean, these are 45-plus-year-old capacitors. None of them are bulging. I don't see any leakage anywhere. You know, the chip, and thank God the chips are all soldered. Some of the older Commodore PETs had sockets for all the RAM chips, and apparently that was problematic. You know, the transformer and such, it's, you know, it's a bit rusty, but, you know, with an ohmmeter, it seems like it's in okay shape. So no shorts where there shouldn't be anyway. And the main power supply, it looks good. The capacitor looks fine. Don't think there's, it was just a whole bunch of different pictures documenting stuff. Oh yeah. Well, that's when I was trying to guard. They said this is very static sensitive. So when I was trying to clean it with all the penetrating fluid stuff, I didn't want to touch anything. So I used tin foil. Every time I was touching the board, I had a big sheet of tin foil out to help protect it from static discharge or whatever. But yeah, all the mechanisms in the tape player all work good and everything. So anyway, let's go back to the slideshow here. So anyway, that's what it looked like. That's the before thing for the main board. And then there's this circuit board in the top for the CRT and the high voltage and that kind of stuff. And they've got those screws that, you know, like it's just too small for a regular screwdriver. And I guess you could use a little ratchet with a bit. But I had bought this screwdriver for, I don't know, maybe a year ago, and I was waiting for an opportunity to use it. and it is, and a guy at work had one, and he showed me, it's like, oh man, when you need that, it's going to be really, really handy. So yeah, it's a flexible screwdriver. It bends almost 90 degrees. and it's very, very stiff. Like there's no, there's no give in it, but it goes around corners and stuff, no problem. So anyway, if we're, channeling Ham Radio Workbench, where they always try and sell stuff or get you to buy stuff during their presentations, if you want one of those screwdrivers, it's a Wera 392, and it takes a standard 1/4-inch bit and a little collet at the end. So anyway, so that was useful to get that board loosened up. And then I, kind of pulled it out a bit, took off the high voltage return from the CRT, and it actually looks pretty good. Again, the capacitors and everything look like, physically they look okay. They're not leaking or anything like that. On the back though, again, there's some copper on the copper side. There was some flux and stuff like that around the joints, but otherwise it's, it's actually not too bad. So now I thought, okay, well, how do I clean a circuit board? And so, after going through a whole bunch of websites and stuff like this and some YouTube videos, the common recommendation seems to be that, you start out with D-min water at least. And if you have any corrosion, you can make a paste out of baking soda and such, and then go at it with a brush gently and kind of go and get as much off as you can. And one of them suggested taking like a cheap, just go to the dollar store, a paintbrush, and cut it off at an angle like that. So you have like one side that's stiff that you can use to get off stuff that's is a little bit, it needs a bit of extra elbow grease. And then the other side is the nice long soft bristles that you can get in underneath stuff and everything. And that seemed to work good, actually. That was a good suggestion. So I just included a picture of that there. The other thing is that PVC and plastic parts, they tend to off gas, and there's like oily substances can come out of them and that sort of thing, which helps hold dust and contamination. And for that, they recommend isopropyl alcohol, which, you can get at the drugstores, but they recommend more than 90%. A lot of the stuff at the dollar store or whatever is only 50. So I went to Sayall, and they had 99.9% mg chemical isopropyl alcohol, which it seemed to do a good job. It got rid of stuff, but anyway, it's like $15 for, what was it? Oh, half a liter, $15. So it's like, anyway, it's almost like buying real liquor. Whoops. So again, a soft brush. Some people say compressed air, some not. There was one YouTube video, and the guy, so he used regular water. He had it in a big, like almost like a paint wash bin in a shop. And this is a professional place that advertises that they do this stuff. And they literally like hose it down, and then they take air pressure from their plant air compressor, and he's spraying it all over. And anybody that knows factory air compressors, generally they deliberately put oil in them for lubricating mechanical devices. And quite often they don't have dryers in them, so there's lots of moisture. So that I kind of ignored that video. So if you have clean dry air and you want to blow it off, okay, that's fine, I guess. And a vacuum cleaner, there was some caution about if you're really static sensitive, watch air movement can create static discharges, especially high velocity air movement. So I didn't do that. I just did so what I ended up doing was the baking soda and D-min water, and then a good rinse with the water. And then they recommend spraying the alcohol afterwards. And that actually did a pretty good job, except after what I thought was a good rinse of both, I still got this white residue on the board. And so this stuff, and you can see it, you can kind of see it here. It's like, according to, I think it's Chemtronics, their website has a lot of information about cleaning circuit boards, actually. It was quite illuminating. But so you get this flux residue. If you don't clean it off well, it can actually, if it's not acidic, it can become acidic, just like absorbing moisture and that kind of stuff. And so you can get corrosion on the circuit boards. You can get dendrites forming between the traces and the pads and all this kind of stuff. Anyway, so it just took another demin water and alcohol rinse, and then it got rid of that. So anyway, that's. Now, what I didn't do was ultrasonics, mainly because I didn't have an ultrasonic cleaner that was big enough to handle that size of a board. I know Simon has his ultrasonic cleaner that we use during the buildathons, and that works really well. But you know, when you dive into the rabbit hole of ultrasonic cleaning, then there's all this other stuff. And some places, including NASA, have cautions about using ultrasonic cleaners on delicate circuits, especially with some of the more dense ICs and stuff. They've got tiny little leads inside the inside the chips and stuff. And if you have strong ultrasonic cleaners, they can actually damage that, according to them. So you have to watch what frequencies you're using, because lower frequencies is larger bubbles, more cavitation, more aggressive cleaning action. So you get higher temperatures and more pressure pulses. And then there's, like this pulse thing, they've got square wave open, they've got sweep, ones that sweep frequencies. And then you can use different solvents and all this kind of stuff. So I had no idea. I thought an ultrasonic cleaner was an ultrasonic cleaner, right? You have a thing, you put a frequency in and some alcohol and away you go. Apparently it's not quite that simple. So, but in my case, I didn't use it anyway, because I just wasn't going to spend like $5,000 on one that's big enough to do that board. So, whoops. And then the contact cleaner, there's only one chip on the board that's actually socketed, and that was the main processor. So I decided I should probably clean that up a bit. And I bought this, I don't know if anybody's used this Deoxit D5 stuff. I bought a can of that to try, so we'll see if that's any good. I don't know. Won't know until I power it up. Or, I have standard contact cleaner, but I didn't try it. I just thought, oh, let's go for the gusto. I want it to work. So anyway, this stuff's supposed to be highly recommended, and you can get versions that are for cleaning like plastic potentiometer contacts. That's a different one than the one that cleans like metal contacts. And anyway, so again, another rabbit hole. So just a couple things, notes that, going through all this stuff. Watch the solvents you use. If there's markings on the chips, like say EEPROM markings with say revisions of firmware or whatever, those solvents can, dissolve that or damage them. You may not know what's there anymore. A lot of the newer circuit boards, like, in phones and that sort of thing, they've got sensors on them. So watch what chemicals you use. You can damage the sensors if there's anything on the board. So in other words, make sure the fix is not worse than the original problem, and know your ultrasonic cleaner if that's what you're going to use, to make sure you don't damage anything. So then it's like, okay, so capacitors. It's like, well, do I just go replace them? Because they look okay. And I thought, well, okay, so I take my, my high-end Keysight meter, and I thought, okay, well, I'll just measure the capacitance. All right. So it says it's 23,000 microfarads at 15 volts. So I measured it, and the meter says 31,000 microfarads, which is 30% high, which is like, I don't know too many capacitor manufacturers that are going to give you a 30% high capacitor, even when it's new. And for comparison, that the black one beside it there, that's a replacement one. It's 22,000 microfarads at 25 volts, so higher voltage, only 1,000 less microfarads. And of course it reads 10% low. It's right on the bottom end of its tolerance. So, which is what I would expect, right? So I thought, well, is it really bad or is it not? Because I would have expected, and maybe somebody else has something to add, I would have expected that the capacitance is lower, not higher, if it's a bad capacitor, right? So I thought, well, you know what? I could try reforming it, just see what can happen, right? I mean, what could go wrong? Well, it blows up. Okay, just wear safety glasses. And we do this in, I don't know if anybody's familiar with high voltage AC drives. they have big capacitor banks in them. They're rated about 800 volts, and they're typically hundreds to thousands of microfarads at 800 volts. So if you leave them sit for too long, they have to be reformed, where you start out with a low voltage, and you put a current limiting resistor in series. You put a low voltage on, let the current decrease to some safe or small value, increase the voltage, wait another while. Anyway, you step the voltage up gradually over usually a period of hours to reform the electrolytic insulating layer inside the capacitor. So I thought, okay, I'll just try that, So I just put in a few K, and I put a 12 volt supply on it, and I let it sit for a while. And so anyway, I just had a 13 volt supply sitting around, put 3K on just because that's what I had handy. Let it sit for 1.5 hours. Now the time constant of that was 10 seconds. So if it's a good capacitor, it should have hit, around 12 volts in 5 time constants, or a minute, give or take. And it took it at 1.5 hours to get to 11 volts. So I'm thinking, it's probably not that good. And even then, it still has 0.5 milliamp of leakage, right, as measured through the resistor. And the capacitance with the meter still says 31,000. So I'm thinking, is it good? Probably not. And just as a double check to see if I remembered my capacitor math, where the current on the current going into the capacitor divided by the capacitance gives you your dVdt, or the volts per second, right? So anyway, with 0.5 milliamp and 31,000 microfarads, should have gotten 160 millivolts per second, or almost 10 volts a minute, which is, not far off of, what the time constant says. So is it good? I'm going to say no. So I'm going to replace some of the bigger cap. There's a few bigger caps in there, and I've got replacements. So I'm just going to do that and put some new ones in. And so that was the board. And then it's like, and actually this is a question for anybody out there. So there's some rust on this thing, right? This is a textured, not epoxy, but one of those textured painted finishes. Some of the Commodore forums say, if you really want to keep it original, leave the rust on. But it's like, it looks like crap. But then if you're going to repaint it, you're not going to get that same finish, unless maybe somebody knows how to do that, which I don't. So if there's anybody that has any thoughts on that, I don't know. I don't. And it's got a nice decal. The decal's in perfect shape. There's nothing wrong with that. The only thing is all these little rusty spots here and there. So
what about CLR?
I did try that actually, because I tried it even inside the case. There's some rust and stuff there too, but it's like I think it's too, like, it's not just surface rust. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Dave had I think Dave had a comment for you too as well, Kevin.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
No, I said I posted a thing saying, what about WD-40? Because WD-40 is used to clean all kinds of stuff. It's like one of those amazing chemicals that can do almost anything. And as long as your circuit board's not, you remove the cover and you just clean it with WD-40, it's pretty safe, right? So that's something to think about.
Yeah, I haven't tried it. I mean, WD-40 is essentially just kerosene, right? So it's not, it does work for a lot of stuff though. I haven't tried it. So yeah, I'll give it a shot. I mean, it's not going to hurt anything.
Ken has a comment as well, Kevin.
Yeah, you should keep looking around in the for forums about painting. I went through the same thing with restoring a Heathkit radio. And I found one site where they actually had the paint color percentage mix and how to get that crinkle feel on it or look on it.
Oh, wow. Really? Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah. I'll see if I can dig it up. Maybe this guy can recommend something.
Yeah, because it would be really nice if I could restore the paint, because the circuit board now looks brand new. I mean, it's great. So
Drew has a comment as well, Kevin.
okay.
Yeah, so Kevin, you wanted to remove rust from the case. Is it visible or just inside?
Both, actually. So there's the rust that is on the picture there.
Yeah.
I'm still sharing my screen, right?
Yep.
You
Okay.
are. I lost it, but I'll find it again.
Okay. So, but yeah, it's not quite surface rust. It seems a bit more than that, but
Yeah.
And it's just spotty, but there's a little more significant rust on some of the stuff inside, which I'm not as worried about because you don't see it. So that I don't mind taking a bit of sandpaper or something and then just giving it, stripping it down and giving it a nice coat of black enamel or something like that.
Well, oddly enough, Coca-Cola works quite well on it.
Yeah, I've heard that too.
It does. I can assure you. It's not unlike. It's really not unlike CLR. It's just a more aggressive form of phosphoric acid. But I mean, put it on a Q-tip, keep it restricted to the area you want it to go after. I think you'll find it'll take it off.
Okay, no,
You're
that's
still going to
great.
have pitting. You're still going to have the results of the corrosion, which won't be easily gotten rid of. But if you're going to then it's inside, so you don't see it anyways. Beyond Tremclad, if you know anybody happens to have any POR 15, it will delete the chance of it coming back.
What is POR 15?
It's a black anti-rust paint that I use on my iron keel.
Oh.
And on my wife's 25-year-old car. When I get into situations where I want to make sure I'm not going to be doing it every year, I use that stuff.
Got a couple more questions here, Kevin. Al, do you still have a question? I see your sign went off, but do you still have a question?
It's not more of a question, just a thought. Maybe consider powder coating. I see a lot of people are doing that, and you can get that nice crinkle finish, fairly thick and nice and shiny. There are people out there that do it, so just throw my 2 cents worth in.
Yeah, no, I had thought of that, but it's like, okay, then I have to, I'm just worried about the decal, like the decal's in perfect shape on the front, but it's like, but yeah, and I don't know if I'm willing to spend the money to pay somebody to powder coat it, but that would probably I'm sure it would do a good job. I see there's a comment about this plastic rust. This is a heavy duty metal case. It's seriously heavy, this thing. It's got to weigh like 40 pounds, this computer.
Dave OI is up next.
Yeah, that was my question, because I thought it was plastic. And I was going to say, does plastic rust? I thought it was maybe mold. But if it's a metal, metal case, then it's rust.
Yeah, no, for sure. This is a heavy duty metal case built like a tank.
Okay, Dave, DLF is up next.
Oh, you're muted, Dave. Sorry, you're muted.
Hear me now?
Which Dave?
Oh, there we go. There we go.
Okay, sorry about that. I got a couple comments. I've done a lot of Heathkit restoring, and color matching is sometimes difficult, and the texture, but as long as you don't sand the cabinet or whatever it is you want to paint to take off the crinkle finish, I found I go to Home Depot and they sell these little half-pint tins of samples of paint, and you can just take your cabinet in and they'll color match it and you get a perfect match. And I've redone all my cabinets and it turned out really good.
Oh,
so for $5.
Yeah.
The other thing you talked about getting some isopropyl alcohol. I don't know what you paid for it, but I buy it by the pack of 6 at Costco for about $12, and it's 99%. So anytime you go to an electronics place for buying it, you're going to get ripped off.
Yeah, no, it was just I needed something in a hurry, and I don't have a Costco membership, so yeah, I agree. It wasn't cheap, but anyway, I have it. But yeah, as to the paint, I think that I had seen in the forums they cautioned about sanding, so I haven't done anything to it yet. So because I thought, well, there's going to be some wisdom in this discussion that I can take advantage of, hopefully.
Well, if that has a texture to it now, I mean, like, just if you can get that, as Drew was mentioning, using Coke on the rust, if you can get that out of there and without leaving any bad marks behind, you take that into Costco. And I sprayed them all after from a small tin of paint they made up, and it was perfect.
Well, okay, yeah, I'm gonna look into that. That's perfect.
Howard's up next.
Yeah, I was just going to suggest, Kevin, I don't know if you tried vinegar and baking soda like a natural way.
Yeah.
That's a little less chemical, so you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, I did try some of that, and just, you know, like a sort of a not very aggressive 3M Scotch, you know, abrasive thing. But I tried the CLR, but none of that seemed to really do much
Didn't
to
work,
it.
eh?
Okay, who's up next? Drew, up again.
Yeah, I don't want to. My 2 cents on the repainting the case is no, and that's because I'm one of those people that likes it to be as it was. Strangely enough, in a previous life, I used to sell those things. So I'm delighted to see that it's up and running. You have got it running, right?
No, I haven't put power on it yet. That's
fair enough.
two.
Well, I can tell you that I don't know much about the collector value. I can appreciate what you're trying to do in terms of recreating that piece of Ottawa technology, but I would hesitate painting it unless it's egregiously stained and hideous and you just can't live with it.
That was exactly what I found in the forums. There's the Drew viewpoint, and then there's the other viewpoint where if you want to restore it to new condition, right, as opposed to as it is today.
It's the decals. You keep talking about the decals, and I can't imagine a more difficult thing to recreate. But if you do get trapped into that, I recently bought some decal making film from, of course, our favorite Chinese Amazon, and put it through a laser printer, and damned if it didn't work great.
Oh, really?
It worked really well. I was shocked.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So you just take the same symbology and just, play around until it's the right size, and maybe you can do it that way.
Okay. Yeah, I haven't decided yet whether I'm even gonna, how much effort I'm gonna put into the paint. It's like, to me it looks not good, but I can also it also depends on what I'm going to do with it, right? And that's sort of like my last slide, actually. So part 2 is like, so I'm gonna, replace the capacitors that are questionable, put some power on through a current limiter, like a light bulb or something, just make sure nothing blows up. Power up, check the power supplies, and then see what digital stuff works, get the data set working. And then if it all works, I'm going to figure out what do I do with a functional 40-year-old computer.
Well, those of us at London Eaton's Wellington Square salute you.
I've got a couple more questions here for you, or comments, Kevin. Dave, DLF, you're up next.
Am I still up?
Yep.
Sorry, I meant it.
Okay.
No, I haven't got more.
Ken, you're up next.
Geez, what was I going to say? You know what I would do is I would not bother with the case until you can verify that it works. You may end up doing all this work on the case and then the thing doesn't work at all. Get it working. And then another thing I read about on the Heathkit forums was spot painting. So you, without having to scrape or sand or steel wool, try to get the rust off. A very thin layer of Rust-Oleum paint on that, and then try to color match and do spot painting on the areas that need it done instead of painting the whole thing.
Yeah.
It'll take more time, but that way you don't have to scrape, sand, and paint and color match everything.
Yeah. Well, or even like a combination of what Dave was suggesting about going to Home Depot, getting a perfect color match. And like you said, you could just spot fix it. Again, I just have to figure out what I'm trying to do here. So or what I'm
Yeah.
going to do with it. I
Yeah.
have no idea. So,
Well, my opinion is get it working first.
yeah, no,
Give-
I agree with that. Actually,
Yeah.
it's like there's not much point, but that's why I kind of brought it up now, because it's like, well, you know, I wanted to get some opinions and then figure out what I'm going to do if and when, assuming that it works. But from the forums online, they indicate these things are pretty robust. Like, amazingly, a lot of them still, you know, power up and work.
Dave's got a comment for you, Kevin. Dave OOI this time.
Yeah, Kevin, your presentation is timely because are you familiar with Ben Eater or John's Basement?
No.
Okay, Ben Eater, can I share my screen for a second?
Oh, hang on. Yeah. Well, I'm done anyway. Yeah, I'm done.
Yeah,
so
you were asking about what to do with this when you're done. I'll show you. How do I share my screen here? There we go. So there, you should see my screen now.
Yep.
So there's this guy, Ben Eater. He's one of the leading guys who builds 8-bit computers from scratch. So here, like, he's built a computer completely. There's no CPU. He's actually built a CPU from parts. Here's a 6502 computer he's built, and he's got video cards. He shows how to load basics on loading BASIC, like loading the original IBM BASIC and doing that. And then there's this other guy here. This guy's really, really creative. Is this guy John's Basement? Because I've been following these guys because one of the things I want to do is I want to build a Z80 computer from scratch. So John's Basement's another guy where he goes through and he builds a computer from scratch, and he loads like all kinds of what's the operating system? CPM? Is it
CPM, right? Yeah.
And he gets CPM running on his homebrew Z80. So, and he shows you how to get CPM up and running. So that could be something you could take a look at, is like replacing your ROMs and potentially running some other operating system. Because I think the pets, they just boot into BASIC, right?
Yeah. And there is a couple of empty sockets there, I think, where you can put other ROMs in there. But, and again, there's stuff on the internet, how to burn your own ROMs and all this kind of jazz. And it's like, it's a whole, you know, another rabbit hole, right? And it's just, but that's what we live for, rabbit holes.
Couple of comments here. Kevin, right at the very top of your presentation, you said, we like to let the smoke out. I have to say, since between the D612 and the Phoenix project, I don't want to let any smoke out of anything anymore. That's
challenging, sure. Has it?
Hey?
It's been challenging.
Yeah. The other thing too is when you mentioned about the static that's created up from a vacuum cleaner. In my previous life, when I was still on the floor back in my AC days, we actually had a vacuum cleaner for that sort of thing that was supposedly static free. They did have a ground wire that ran the length of the hose, but I think the material of the hose was also a conductive material as well. Had no idea what they paid for it, but they're there. I'm not sure I would buy one, but anyway, I don't know if running a ground wire alone would be sufficient, but don't know.
Yeah, I just didn't try it.
Oh, and are you gonna be looking for these caps at Dayton?
I've already got some. I've already got a couple of ones, and actually, some of the ones I have from in my junk box, like brand new ones that we got. Remember the one time that fellow John came into?
Oh yeah.
And he gave out a whole bunch of capacitors and stuff. Now they're probably just as old. They're 10 years old now too. So I don't know if they're any good, but I've got a whole bunch of smaller caps.
TKI, Michael, you got a comment?
Yeah, I just wanted, since you're talking about the static, I have a dust collector for my workshop, and you use exactly that technique. You run a wire down the length. The dust collection stuff is, some of it's plastic, some of it's metal, but then the plastic stuff, you run a wire down, and that apparently takes care of the static, so you're not exposed to explosion. So for whatever that's worth. So just as a comment.
Ken's got a comment.
Yeah, you should check around and see if anybody's selling recap kits. I know I just bought a recap kit for my Heathkit radio. It was a small fortune, but I think it's worth it.
Yeah, there is, but it's like I'm and how much effort do you want to put into it, right? I mean, I mean, this is the main capacitor, and the other one, which I don't have it here, but I was actually debating because I've heard other people do this. They actually cut the top off the capacitor and pull the guts out, put a new one inside, put it back together, and make it look like an old one, but it's got a new capacitor inside.
Yeah.
So if you really want to be, faithful to the original.
Well, you got 12 days to get this up and running and finished, so you can put it on the club display down in 4 days of May. Is there any other comments for Kevin?
And the next week I have to spend at a trade show, so we know that's not happening. So,
all right, next year's or the next one weekend at Eric's,
next year, yeah.
Any other comments for Kevin? Okay, well, thanks very much, Kevin. That's very interesting. Oh, do you still have a part 2 for this, or is part 2 when it's finished?
So the part 2, yeah, that's where I was. My last slide there. So part 2 is, I'm going to put the caps in and power it up. And don't worry, I'll have the video running when I first put power on. If there's smoke, everybody gets to share in the fun.
Yay! Beauty.
Okay,
beauty. So we do like smoke.
Somebody. Yeah, I could see Pete sitting there clapping.
Okay, thanks very much, Kevin. That was very good, very interesting. Okay, so we've got. Let's see who I got messed up. Al, did you want to talk a little bit about your version of Dave's tracer?
Sure, I can do that. So before I start, Kevin, can you do that smoke test on May 24?
I think we're on our way back from Dayton then.
Okay. All right. Well, let me show you if I can share my screen here.
Isn't fireworks banned in Brampton? So I don't think. Oh no, Kevin's not in Brampton anymore, so it's okay. He could fire it up.
Yeah, they're banned here.
They're banned everywhere now. It's just the question is, do you get caught? I guess my neighbors think it's only if you get caught, so they're still letting them off. Anyhow, can everybody see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Yep.
Okay. Well, as we said, this is Dave's D3OI transistor tracer, a build that I've done for Dave. So a little bit of background. Dave gave that excellent presentation last month. Incredible detail. Very impressed with your presentation, Dave. So hoping to have a working tracer to present during the Hamvention this month. Dave recruited some beta testers, so I stepped forward, and Wayne, BA3NWH, also stepped forward, and we've each built a version of the version 1 of the tracer. You can see I've actually got a little bit of a picture there of the actual assembled unit. Nicely laid out, clean build. I know they were looking for issues. It didn't have too many issues, actually. Went together really well. So as far as parts sourcing, Dave provided an Excel spreadsheet for me of all the parts, including tolerances. There are some tight tolerance parts, so we got to know what was critical, what was not. Many of the parts I had on hand. Dave sent me a printed circuit board as well as some additional parts. I didn't have any stock in SMD devices, and especially the precision tolerance parts, so I ordered those up from DigiKey. Again, 2-day delivery, no complaints there. So at least on the build, a couple of tips as we went through. We measured and recorded all the values before I assembled it. For 2 particular reasons. One is it's easier to check it before it's put in the circuit. but also a number of the values are needed for calibration later during the calibration procedure. As well, a tip from Dave was order is important. Some of these surface mount components are way down on the board, and by the time you get the other components in, it's like having a Manhattan skyscraper beside. You'll never get these components in, so gotta build from low to high. So the combination of through-hole devices, standard practice, surface mounted. I tell you, I need better eyes. Some of these things are pretty small, especially Dave has some Xena protection diodes in there, and these things are half the size of a piece of rice. Dave said it was optional. Dave, I have to admit, when you put it there and say, Al, you don't have to do it, that's just a challenge to me. So we did it. We did it. So I did use a reflow oven to this, mostly because I could. I've got an oven. It was brand new from last year, and this was the first chance to actually use it. And I was hoping that it would probably make a prettier assembly than using a soldering iron. And then this is the first time I've actually used a syringe to put the solder paste on. You can see in the photo there, you buy the particular mix of solder paste. It comes in a syringe, and you just very carefully put a dab on each part before you put the component down. So it worked out really well. Here's a picture of my reflow oven. This is a Chinese job. You see lots of them there. As it was the first use, I did put a thermocouple taped to a scrap PC board, taped inside with some Lexan tape, just to verify that what I was doing inside was what the controller thought it was doing, and it was pretty close. I haven't calculated the error, but when I put the two together on a plot, they were pretty close. No concerns there. And then I ran a couple of test boards just with some undefined surface mount stuff I had laying around, and it worked really well. The interesting story on this, when I look out to buy this, there's a lot of comments on the internet, and I think there's a lot of fellas they buy them. The first thing they do is take them apart to look inside, and then maybe criticize them. There was a number of comments that I didn't find the same problem. People were complaining about sharp edges. Didn't find any. They were all up in arms over it was grounded with a star washer inside. Well, okay. I did put a proper ground terminal on it. What was the other thing they were complaining about? Some of the insulation is held in with masking tape. Well, okay. I didn't have a problem after a few cycles, although when I did have it open on inspection, I did have the high temperature tape, and I did replace it. But overall, it worked pretty good. The manual is written in Chinese and probably translated by Google, but it was sufficiently accurate. That was some pushing buttons and playing around. You could figure it out. It really wasn't rocket science. So overall, I was pretty happy with the first purchase. So let's move on. After I soldered up the boards, I did do some cleaning. I like the alcohol wash that we've been doing at the buildathons. Works really well, really well. Scrubbing it with a toothbrush, inspecting with an eye loop or a magnifier. These traces are really small, and when you get into some of the hand soldering at the back, it's really critical to get all that flux off and look for a solder bridge. So that worked out really well. I threw a comment in here, and this is probably similar. I think, Kevin, you were talking about solvents. I've had a bad experience with these spray flux removers. This one here called FluxTex, and it's a chlorinated solvent. It actually works really well. Don't get it on any plastic. What you see there is the remnants of power pole connectors. I sprayed them, and 10 minutes later, they crumbled in my hand as I went to put the connector together. So I rarely use this stuff anymore unless it's just a very bare board. I just like the alcohol. It's safer. If you get a whiff of the alcohol, it's not so bad. You get a whiff of this chlorinated solvent, and you'll cough a lung up. So don't like that stuff at all. So anyhow, coming along, there was a whole section that was detailed in Dave's presentation on what you have to do to install. Now, bear in mind, Dave's was a presentation, a lot of information in there, but it wasn't necessarily a build manual. So, but with Dave's help, we spent a couple of hours last week downloading the program for the Arduino, the operating program that he wrote, loading it into the microprocessor, calibrating and doing some test plots. We didn't have any issues at all. It actually came off really smooth, so I was very happy with that. Issues, not many. Did I say small? Yeah, you really got to have good eyes and magnifiers. I think the biggest problems I had was my inexperience with microprocessors. I've never loaded an Arduino before, so when Dave said just load the code, I kind of went, so how? I don't know. So here's something I've got to bone up on myself and actually start learning the microprocessors. When somebody says just load the code, it's not a foreign language to me. Dave and I both noted a couple of quirks on the programming, which is not really an issue, but we did notice the COM port kept reverting to the lowest COM port. I'm not sure whether that's how we fix that. Doesn't really matter. We know it. We did have to select and unselect the plot command box every time we plotted just to reset the values, but no showstoppers. So anyhow, there's a couple of neat features I want to blow Dave's own horn for him. I love the zero insertion socket. As you can see here, pinouts come in different orders. Now, on small signal transistors, you can bend the leads around, get them in any way you want. But some transistors, especially some of the larger tab mount things, you can't be bending leads around like that. So you got three choices for whatever order you'd ever want. Just pick the position that actually works for you. So I've since printed this up and have it laminated and stuck to the unit for myself. And Dave gave us a beautiful 5-volt source pin for calibration. So all you had to do is stick a lead on that and go over to the appropriate pin to do the calibration. Nicely thought out, Dave. He also showed me the 3 pins for the power supply, where you can't reverse polar or plug it in backwards. Smart move. I never would have thought of that myself. So overall, well thought out and well done. What else have I got? Oh, here's a conclusion. I liked it. Successful, rewarding. I had a ball doing it, and it works even better. No smoke, and I've been plotting all sorts of things. Is it a candidate for build-a-thon? I think so. You can build it in one day, preferably with reflow. We've done that before. Not too many hams have one of these, so we could probably get some interest. It gets more use of surface mount stuff, which I think is the way of the future. So let's get some more practice on that. Promotes use of microcontrollers. Once you have it, then you can actually start learning and understanding transistors. So bonus all around. Almost at the end here. I don't know. Maybe Dave, you can comment. Well, what are we up to in future versions? I know you're working on version 2. What are you up to? But things like, are you going to consider PNP devices, higher power, maybe some plot titles and axis labels on the plots? This is a version 1 and a beta test, and it's working really well. But just some thoughts of what maybe what you want to consider in the future. So that's basically it. I had a ball doing this, and how do I unshare my screen here and get back to me somehow? Sorry, stop sharing and okay, and come and get back to me. Yeah, so they can actually see. There's the. Is it going to focus here? There's the little, here's the little pinout that comes with it. so it's not really focused. But nice, clean. No, I really like it. So anyhow, any questions, comments? Dave, do you want to add any more? Did I miss something?
I got a comment.
Yeah.
When you mentioned you measured every single part value on there. When I started this latest version of the Phoenix build, I started measuring every part and noting how far off with the tolerance and all that kind of stuff. But after I got around into about the 150th component, I kind of gave up a little bit, and I wasn't measuring every single one. But near the end there, you had me thinking about, okay, now if I get a breakout board, I want to characterize an SMD component. I'd have to come up with a bit of an adapter there. So it's got me thinking about that. And Dave, you got something you want to say there?
Very nice.
No, this is Wayne's build. He sent it to me. And so Wayne did it on a board. It's actually stained. I can actually smell the stain. He did it. So he cut it out. A nice, really nice routed. It's got feet.
Oh, look
and,
look on the back. Look on the back. You can hang it on the wall.
Yeah, I know. It's got feet, but he's got a little legend that he put on there. Isn't that cool? So he's got exactly with the pinouts, right?
Anytime we come up with a future project, what we need to do is get at least 2 or 3 beta builders and then let the competition begin. Very good. Any other comments or questions for Dave or Al?
Yeah, nice job, guys.
Thanks, Ken.
Yeah, it was really good. That was good to see. And maybe we can hear more about your oven. I wouldn't that came off of AliExpress or eBay?
I think it was AliExpress. I bought it a year ago. And yeah, no complaints with it at all. That's
well, just an FYI, the club does have we do have a solder oven floating around somewhere. I don't know if you got it, Ken.
No, Simon has it at his office.
Oh, Simon has it at his office.
Yeah.
Okay. Of course, everybody's moving out of Brampton. Is there anybody in this group here living in Brampton any longer?
Not for much longer.
Yeah.
How
Okay,
big is
Al.
the oven? How big is the oven that Simon has? How big is it? Does anyone know? Could it, like Peter, could we do the Phoenix board in there?
I don't know. Frank, do you remember how big that oven was?
how big is the Phoenix board?
Yeah, I can't remember. The Phoenix board is 28.
I can't really bring it over because it's all wired up and it's got all kinds.
It's 28 by 16.
The board that or the oven that Kevin has at his workplace is, I don't remember the exact size of it, but it looked to be about the same as the one Al just showed us.
Oh, do you know what size yours will take, Max, Al?
I just measured the drawer and it says 9 by 7. I can fit in there. I don't know whether you'd want to go to that extreme. Maybe you want to keep it back a half an inch.
No, the Phoenix is 11 inches wide, so. Okay. Well, we could go the other route, Dave. We can either insert it this way and do half a board at a time. What? What?
Cut the board in half and put half in and half out.
God, I tell you, this is a tough crowd. Okay. Thanks, Al. Okay. Marty, you have a nice build going on there. I've not seen one of these yet. I've certainly read a lot about the QDX digital transceiver.
Well, a while back, I built a QCX CW transceiver, and that was quite successful. I built the large one, and it works really well. And the documentation, I've never seen better documentation for a build. So you can't go wrong.
Better than Frank's.
Well, you know, I think it's running a close second. Let's put it that way. Anyway, the QDX, there it is. It's not very big, as you can see. I was surprised at how small it was when it came in. And it came in a kit. I built it over 3 days. The first day, I identified all the parts and measured them and put each assembly in a little plastic bag, ready for the build. The next day, I built most of the parts except for got to the toroids. And the third day, I kind of wound all the toroids and soldered it together. Fortunately, this thing has a whole lot of surface mount parts which come installed. So you don't have to do any surface mount. It's all through the hole components that you put on. Everything else arrives already on the board. And you do have to wind a bunch of toroids, but in this group, people should be pretty used to winding toroids by now if you've been with the group for very long. Anyway, so that was it. I built it for 20 meters to 10 meters, and it works very well. So, any questions?
Well, I got a comment. Coming in with SMT installed, that's cheating, Marty.
Of course.
Anyway, and toroids, yeah, you're right. I've done the same. Both my toroids are pretty much saved to the very end, and I also call it my toroid therapy to help me pass the time.
Yeah, yeah.
Dave OOI's got a question for you or comment.
Yeah, did you, Marty? I may have missed it. Did you say what the power output of that was?
5 watts.
It's 5 watts, and they're getting 5 watts on 10 meters.
I don't know what I'm getting, Dave. Probably not. But I don't. I'm not sophisticated enough to measure that sort of stuff. But
no, but that's a mono band, isn't it?
I've made a few contacts, so to me, if I'm making contacts.
Yeah, but that's a mono band. That's 20 meters only, right?
No, it's 20, 17, 15, 12, and 10.
Oh, multi-band. I didn't realize that.
Yeah,
oh,
yeah.
Okay. I thought it was mono band.
Yeah.
Very nice.
The original was mono band.
Ah, okay.
And now this is about the fourth or fifth revision of the thing.
Okay.
What's the model number again?
It's a QDX, QRP Labs QDX. Digital. And it does not do Morse code. It doesn't do any on-off digital modes. It does FT8, which is why I bought it, and it'll do RTTY and some of the other digital modes, which are sine wave modes, not on-off modes.
Okay. Frank, you got a question?
Yeah. Marty, I was curious, is there, how do you switch the bands on it? Or is it just broad tuning through that whole range?
Well, it's WSJTX. You plug this thing into the computer with a USB cable, an AB cable, and the computer looks after the rest. And it's free software. WSJTX is open source. Well, I don't think it's open source. It's a free software. I guess it is open source. But everything is done on your computer. So you get a PAN adapter on the computer. If you're running FT8, you get a PAN adapter. You can see all the stations and set the parameters. It's basically a computer program, and this is just the box that takes the signal out of the computer and gives it to the antenna.
Okay, gotcha.
There's no antenna tuner on this, so you'll either have to have a resonant antenna or put a tuner in line.
Yeah.
Any other comments or questions for Marty? Okay. Oh, that's great, Marty. Thank you for that. Good to see you building there. Okay. I guess I got a little short presentation on just some things that amused me this past month. So we'll get on that one. Where are we? We can see that?
Yeah.
Okay, technology today. My two thoughts of interesting technical articles. Well, at least what I think is interesting. So I came across this article about MIT engineers are growing atomically thin transistors on top of computer chips. And I thought, oh, that's kind of interesting. And you can see a picture of the oven that they've developed. And basically what they're doing is they're just growing these very thin wafer transistors on top of existing chips. I might have to do a couple of funny things here. Can we see that?
No.
No, not yet. Okay, hang on.
I don't see it. I don't see it.
Okay. Let me just, I'll stop this. And I'll do a reshare. Can you see that now? YouTube?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is the process of how they do it. It's only about a minute. Well, at least the music's not playing. That's good. Okay. That was a bit weird. You know what? You know how they slow down tapes, like when in music? That's exactly what happened there. Okay, let me share the screen again here. Anyway, that was supposedly the process of how they actually are starting to coat these wafers or on top of the chips. Okay, so what's driving this is the AI applications and chatbots. They're demanding much denser chips and therefore more powerful computer chips, and there just isn't the space to do this. But since I should say the chips are traditionally made with bulk materials, and which are boxy 3D structures, so stacking multiple layers of transistors to create denser integrations is very difficult. So MIT has come up with a technology that they can effectively and efficiently grow layers of 2D transitional metal, I'll let somebody else pronounce that one, TMD materials directly on top of fully fabricated silicon chips. And the technology allows the 2D semiconductor transistors to be directly integrated on top of standard silicon circuits, where in past they used to grow them outside of the chip of interest and then transfer them over, but that would cause imperfections and performance issues. And there is the link below to the article that I got that from. So anyway, I thought that was kind of an interesting thing, where you grow additional transistors right on top, and so you save your space and etc. So the next article I came across was the Futic telescope. And this the Flute team, they call themselves, is jointly led by NASA and the Israeli Institute of Technology. And they envisioned a way to make these huge self-healing mirrors in orbit. And right now, we're already pushing the physical size of what they can launch into space. The James Webb is just about there at 6.5 meter aperture. And even at that one, they had to fold it up, as we all know, origami style to get it in there into the rocket.
Peter, quick interruption. Are you sharing a screen?
Yes.
Don't see it.
Oh.
Got it now.
There you go.
Okay.
We are getting stray pickup from someplace as well.
Oh, yeah. So mute your mics, guys. Okay. So we've talked about this screen, but there you can kind of get the artist image of what they envision it. Okay. So the conventional way of doing these, of what they do today is, is they literally grind and shape the surfaces of lenses and mirrors. And then, of course, then they'll launch them up. But today, that's putting it at about, you're not going to get much larger than about 10 meters in diameter. After that, it's just not, doesn't appear to be economically viable. So they had to come up with a new solution. And what they've done is they've taken an advantage of the way fluids behave naturally in microgravity. All liquids have an elastic-like force that holds them together with the surface, and we call that surface tension. And on Earth, if the water droplets are small enough, 2 meters or smaller, the surface tension overcomes gravity and they remain perfectly spherical. And of course, if it grows larger, it just collapses. However, in space, where fluids are free floating and unhindered by gravity, they can get much larger amounts of liquid there and get a perfectly efficient shape. In other words, a perfect sphere. Now, liquids can cling to the surfaces due to the physical property called adhesion. And in microgravity, if they have enough of it, of the liquid, and made to adhere to a ring-like frame, that liquid will stretch across the inside of that frame and form naturally form a curved shape. And that's all thanks to surface tension. Now, if they use the right amount of liquid, they can actually make that surface of the liquid curve inward instead of bulging outward. And if the liquid is reflective, then that curved surface can serve as a telescope mirror. So what they would do is launch these liquids up into space and make these components in orbit. And the primary mirror would form with this huge circular frame, and it would remain in a liquid state. Now, they say their technology is theoretically they could scale this up to some large sizes in the neighborhood of anywhere from 10 times to even 100 times the size of what our larger telescopes are today. Now, this was kind of a neat thing. And of course, when they launched the James Webb, how long was it at its home position? And then it got pinged fairly quickly with a meteorite, right? So this one here, the unique feature is this liquid mirror would be able to, in its ability to repair itself if damaged. For instance, if a micrometeorite impacts the mirror surface, it could naturally heal itself within a short period of time. And then there's the link over on the right. So those are my two thoughts. And of what I found, or at least what I thought was interesting this week, or this past month, I should say. Anyway, I hope you thought that was informative.
Yeah, cool.
Drew, how'd they say it stays in space, the fluid? What they were saying is if the liquid through, I think the microgravity or the lack of gravity up there, the surface tension of the liquid will keep it. If you have enough liquid up there to go spread across the diameter of the ring, the surface adhesion, is that the term, would keep it together.
I was just thinking it might be a little cold.
Antifreeze.
Ah, indeed. Isopropyl alcohol.
There you go. So you answered your own question. Well, you'll have to grab the link, Drew, and read up on it.
Yes, I will. Thank you for that. I needed another diversion,
Okay. Any other questions? comments? Okay, perfect. All right, well, we still got a little bit of time. Do you want to do a quick roundtable, guys?
How about the board?
What board? Oh, I apologize profusely. How can I forget? Well,
Yeah.
I'll lead into it with a small one. I think I've showed before. So there's our little business card that we're going to hand out at club night down at 4 Days of May, and then Ken kindly volunteered to make up a new board for us, and he's got it here tonight. He's going to show us.
Yeah, a couple of weeks ago, Dave posted he needed somebody to make up a board. I waited a couple of days, nobody replied. I am and hawed, and I said, "Okay, I'll do it." So I went out and bought a 4x3 3-panel board. I laid out everything except that I use a proxy image instead of the actual image because I wanted to see how it lay out. So what I'll do is I'll share my screen here. What do I want to share? Okay, so this is Photoshop, and my proxies look like this. So this is the actual image size when it's printed to scale. Instead of printing the paper, the actual image, I made it the actual size, put the name on it and the size, and I did that for every image and placed it on the board to lay it out correctly. But I wanted to see what it looked like with the actual images. So this is what the board's going to look like. Spacing's not set up or anything like that, but basically this is what it's going to look like. In the middle, we've got the SOAREX symbol and online YouTube channel and all that stuff. And down the middle, I've got 4 images of Frank's that he took of all the kits that were ever built in Park. And I have another one down here of a 40-meter SSB that he had built. I wonder if we can actually see it. Yeah, there we go. All Manhattan style, me squares. And on the right side, got images of a buildathon we've had in the past. I think this is the SOAREX build. I think this is my first or second one that I did. I think it was actually first. And just different stages. And on the left side, I've got another column called Fun and Education. It's just activities we're involved in. There's one at Eric's cottage. There's Tyler. Guys taking down Dave's antenna. Eric's, the buildathon or the actual park group back then. There's I don't know, Dave, is that Tyler or is that somebody else? But it looks like Eric's helping him out. And there's another one at Dave's. So that's basically what this is going to look like. So I've got the actual proxies laid out on the board like this. And now I'm at the point where I'm actually going to go and print out all these images and get it together for the guys.
That looks really, really good, Ken. Thank you very much for doing that. I think Cherry had a comment there. Cherry?
Sorry, that was my bad. I clicked the wrong button. Yeah.
Oh, okay. No worries. No worries. Dave. Oh, Dave. He's putting comments on the column there. Okay. Anybody else? Any comments for Ken?
I have a question for Frank.
Go ahead for Frank.
Hey, Frank, is this true? 25 years of buildathon kits?
It sure is true.
Okay,
and,
good.
They're all laying there out on the board. I couldn't get. I got them on one large library table, and but I couldn't photograph them all in one shot. So it's a panoramic type starting from the left-hand side and going right across. And each kit is sitting on top of the manual that we also produce for that kit.
So yeah, it'll be this one here that I've got the buildathon pictures for.
Dave, you got a comment?
Yeah, I'm just thinking, by the way, Ken, excellent work. Excellent. I love it. This looks fantastic. It shows both, you know, the work we do, the fun we have. It mixes everything together.
And
it's very much appealing to the eye. It's centered and it's very much appealing to the eye. You know, very, very, very good work. I love Frank's rig at the bottom. I hate him, but I love it. Frank does such neat work. Puts me to shame. But anyway, my comment was, and maybe it's to Peter, maybe it's to Ken or Frank or everybody's comment, you know, a feedback. Should we take some of the buildathon manuals or maybe some of the kits with us? I'm thinking at least maybe take manuals because they'd be easy to transport as opposed to taking and laying out kits because you never know, they may go walking, right?
Yeah, got to be careful things don't disappear.
Okay, that's something that certainly I'll think about. Now, I did think about taking a couple of kits down, maybe like the SNA or SIG. Oh no, the SIGGEN's been repurposed. You know, but anyway, and we can talk about that a little bit more, I guess.
I'd like to make a suggestion for you guys.
Yeah.
I won't be going to Dayton this year, but I would suggest that while you're down there, if you haven't done it already, that you talk to somebody with the Dayton Amateur Radio Club and get them to give you a tour of their shack and their antenna farm.
Oh.
I have done this, and it's something to behold. So I would recommend that you take you get a hold of somebody that's on the committee there and say you'd like to do that. And I think if somebody wanted to take out a membership down there, it's $10 or something. I forget now. In the day, it was $10 to become a member of DARC. So
okay, all right, we'll keep that in mind. Thanks, Marty. Okay.
I have a question for I have a question for Ken.
Yep.
Ken, those are poster boards, right? And you glue the pictures on the poster board. Is that how it's done?
Yeah, you can glue them on. You can have double-sided tape.
Oh yeah. Okay.
I think what I'm going to do is try and figure out a way of doing it in such a way that we could remove pictures and replace them with something new in a year or two.
That's a good idea.
Yeah. Okay.
But then the next step right now is to go and get all 28 pictures printed now. Now I'm not doing it at home. I'm going to Walmart.
Oh. Hey, Peter, I've got about 12 manuals for kits because I've been to, I think, about 12 buildathons. So, you know, I'm willing to take these down and just leave them on the table, spread them out.
Okay, so I'll grab a couple of the ones. I'll try and grab some of the earlier ones, the ones that you may not have done.
Yeah, I think, let me check the earliest date I got here. I'll continue talking. I'll post it in the what the later
Okay, that sounds good. All right. Well, thanks, Ken, for doing that. That's grand. Okay, well, still got a little bit of time here. Do you want to just do a little quick round table tonight? And then we'll see what happens. In my case, last week, I managed to get the receiver section of the Phoenix project up and running. And I know in past I've said, if all my projects work the first time out, I would never learn anything. But I really wish at least once a project would work the very first time out. And that's been a long time. And the D612 projects and the Phoenix proof of concept board receiver was all challenging. Anyway, this time I was ready to test the Phoenix receiver, and I put the spectrum analyzer on the crystal filter. I won't tell you which method I used. I either used the POA method or the OOI method. I'll let you guess which one I used. It's based on a presentation we did a couple months back. Anyway, So I got the numbers of where the center frequency or the best spot in the passband was, and I sat down a nice comfortable spot, and I did all the math for the VFO, the BFO, and all this kind of stuff. I did not do any presets on all the various pots for the op amps and everything like that's in it. I just threw it all in, fired everything up, powered up the signal generators, and there was the signal. Weak, but there it was. I did not do any tweaking. I didn't even do any tweaking on any of the frequency on the sig gens, anything. It was just there. It was such a relief. I was ready to go out and buy a bottle of champagne. I couldn't believe it. Can you imagine not having to even make an adjustment anywhere? Anyway, fine tuning of the passband, and of course it brought the signals right up, and I can get it down to S4, no problem. S3, you're probably going to put a headphone on. Anyway, that worked out really well, so I'm pleased. I'm at the point now where I'm almost finished the TX portion. Still have a few toroids and a couple of little things to do there. Dave, you had a comment?
No, I was going to ask, and I think you, oh man, how do I turn off my hand? Okay, there, it's gone. Yeah, I think you answered it. I was going to ask what signal level were you hearing? You said it was really weak. So I was down. I had with the attenuators and stuff. I was down to about an S3. Oh, okay.
And that was
good.
I had to hear it. I mean, I had to really concentrate, and that was just over just some speaker I got tied up here in the shack.
And keep in mind, you'd never get an S3 unless you're on like maybe 10 meters and there's no noise around.
Yeah, I wouldn't be working S3.
Most of the time you're getting S5 or S7 noise, so you would never hear a S3 signal.
I sat there and listened to the transprovincial net for about an hour or so. So the other comment I have on that one is between the proof of concept board and the Phoenix board, the only difference really between the two is the crystal filter. And on the Phoenix board, the audio quality is much better than what was on the proof of concept. And I had started to suspect that there was something going on with the crystal filter in my proof of concept board that could be improved, and that would probably improve the audio. So I think I've proven that there. So anyway, that was interesting. That'll be something to play with somewhere else down the road. Okay. Ken, you're up next.
All right. I haven't been doing much but a board. Last couple of weeks.
Maybe not PCB, but whatever.
Yeah. Other than that, not really. I've sort of put the DCR on hold. I was working on the 40 meter QRP Labs bandpass, bandpass filter. Having a little trouble tuning it. 40 meters and up. Hans recommends adding 4 extra turns because of the small movement on the capacitors for trimming. I've already taken off 4 turns, and then going through the manual, he says it could be up to 5. So I guess I'll be taking the 5th one off. The trick is not to cut the excess wire off until you're absolutely sure you've got the right windings on there. And then, because if you have to end up putting a turn back on, the wire's there already. Yeah. So anyways, that's where I'm at with that.
Okay, good. Thanks, Ken. Al, I guess we know what's been on your bench, but anything else to add?
Not too much. You're right. I've been busy the last few weeks with the transistor tracer. But now that I've got the reflow oven up and running, I have a couple of projects stalled. I think, 6 months ago, I mentioned I was working on a small QRP watt meter, SWR meter that fits in an Altoid tin from the Spratt magazine. So made all the parts and the PC board. So I'm probably going to pick that up this month and actually reflow the PC board, and maybe I'll have something to report by the next meeting. Or the next episode. Do we have a meeting next?
Well, I was going to get to that, but since you brought it up, I'll just quickly go over it. Well, no, let's leave that to the end. I'll bring that back up.
Okay. So, it's springtime, and it's time to maybe start working on my lawn and putting my antenna back up that the squirrels brought down. So I'm not sure how much I'm going to be doing the solder this month, but there'll be something, I guess. So that's about it right now.
Okay, thanks, Al. Cherry, you're up next.
Okay, sorry. I was trying to update, unmute myself. Yeah. So I am on to something this week. I collected, what is this called? One PCB called, this is an active antenna. This is from Papa Alpha Zero Fox Romeo India, PA0FRI. There is a web page on this on the internet. I found this very interesting, so I collected the PCB from. It appears that it is coming from Netherlands. A person called Hans sent me this. It's based on a circuit on 2N5109. It's small, and I just wanted to experiment with this, so I am just starting to take a look this week. I just got it a couple of weeks ago, so I'm just trying to look at and also, collect the components and everything for that. Otherwise, I'm also looking at kits and parts and seeing what I can collect,
Okay.
from there. So that is something which I'm planning to do. And I'm also looking at what I need to shop around for Dayton. So
Yeah, make that list up, Cherry.
yeah. So
what was the call sign of that guy again?
yeah, I can put it in chat.
Okay, put it in the chat. That'd be great.
It's actually PA0FRI or Fox Romeo India. Let me search for that and then put it here. It's a loop antenna which is small. Seems like everyone was going crazy around this all over the internet. I found that this should be pretty interesting, and yeah, so I just wanted to actually build this one. So this is the link.
Okay.
And there is also one more link because this design actually belongs to this guy, but I got it through another person who seems to be a friend of him or something. His name is Hans Alad. Let me put a link which I got from him also in a little while. I need to search for that in my emails.
Okay.
Yeah, and this guy's name is called Fritz, I think. Yeah. Unfortunately, he's not well, is what I hear. This design has been very famous, but unfortunately, the person who made it is not very, well at this point. And a person named Hans Alert was giving me all the information surrounding this. Yeah, that's. Yeah, I will put both links in a little while. Yeah, one I already put. Second one is coming up. Yeah.
Okay. Just a quick question here: is it receive only, or both, or transmit and receive?
It is. Okay, so I almost forgot that. It is. I think both receive and transmit. That's what I'm not so sure, but it's definitely receivably. Yeah.
Okay, well, we'll catch that up on the link then.
Yeah.
All right, thanks, Cherry. Appreciate that. We'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Yep.
Dave, you're up next. Of course, we know what you've been doing.
Who, me?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, working on the Phoenix and helping Al with software issues. But no, I always like talking to Al. Al's fun to work with. That was fun, Al. Our little session we had, I think it was on Sunday. That was good. So yeah, it went well. So yeah, working on the Phoenix. I posted a video on the transmit output from it, and so far looks good. I don't know what it's going to sound like on the air, but one of the things I'm hoping Peter could get his built so that we could do some transmit testing over the air. So that's about it.
Okay. Thanks, Dave. Drew?
Right. Sorry. Well, I've been having a lot of HF noise, S7 and the like on 40 meters. last night I got an opportunity to determine how much of that was in my house.
Oh.
Because we had an impromptu power failure.
Nice. And?
Dropped to S3.
Mind you, the only trouble is that the whole neighborhood was out, so it may not just be your house.
Well, that's my point, is I don't think it's in my house. I think a lot of the noise is coming from outside, which has always been a big question for me.
Well, if you want, I can come down to your place and pull the meter off your wall there so you can have power in your house only.
I like that idea.
There you go.
I also have a QDX to build, so I was very interested in Marty's discussion.
Okay, I didn't know you had a QDX. Okay.
So I was going to ask Marty about his experience with the toroids, but it sounds like it went very well.
And he's nodding yes, so no problem there. Dave, go ahead. You'd like to speak?
Yeah, Drew, it's interesting what you said about the noise, because after building the Phoenix and testing out the receiver, is that me or is that someone else?
I don't know who it is. There's a few guys with mics. Let's mute mics, guys.
I think I've got mine open.
Yeah. So yeah, Drew, because with the Phoenix, I notice in my neighborhood, I've got all kinds of birdies. Like on almost every band, I would be tuning and I'd be hearing all kinds of birdies, and I'm going, damn, this receiver is a piece of crap. So then I turned on my ICOM, and sure enough, no, they're real. This is all coming from the neighborhood. And so I've got like a tremendous amount of noise in my neighborhood. Like I'm like, even on 10 meters, I've got about like an S5 on 10 meters, which you should be down like a S1, S2, right? Yes. On 10 meters, it should be quiet.
You better move again.
And next time you buy a house, probably you need to check the signal around that place.
Go off grid.
Yeah.
So Drew, I feel your pain, man.
Well, it was interesting because it was a fire at a substation, so it knocked out a big chunk of the west end. Although apparently not Peter.
No, I didn't get knocked off. I tell you, you were the run into the city, man. My noise level can get down to S3, no problem.
Yeah.
S4. Oh, anyway, thanks for that, Drew. I hope then we'll see how your build goes when we get back from Dayton. So you got a month to get this thing built.
Hope so.
Frank, you're up next. How's things there?
Okay. Yeah, not too bad here. I've been working on the HW9 kit that I got from Al, and just see if you can see it. That's one of the boards. It's pretty well complete now, and I did one thing referring to Kevin's presentation, that I replaced every single electrolytic in the kit. I bought brand new ones. And looking back at documentation for this kit, it was bought about 35 years ago. So even though they've never received power, I didn't want to spend a lot of time on it and then find out that I've got problems with the electrolytics. So they've all been changed, and it's coming along pretty good. I'm getting just getting into the mechanical parts of putting it together. So it's been a lot of fun, and it's coming along slowly. And that's about it for the bench.
Okay, thanks, Frank. Howard, good evening.
Hi to everyone. So I've just been picking away at the STR, and I completed the exciter board, and Peter was helping me figure out enhancement mode FETs, because I couldn't figure out how to turn the board on to test it with the signal to make sure it's working. So we were working on that a bit today. So now that figure that out, I just need a third signal source, and then I can test it to see that it's working. So that's pretty well what I've been doing.
You know, Howard, when you mentioned the third signal source, for years when I first started, when Frank got me addicted to home brewing, I went a long time without a signal generator, and it wasn't, I imagine, a couple of years anyways. And then all of a sudden, well, I have 3 signal sources now, and some, you know, and who would ever thought, how could I get along without any? And now I need 3. So I feel your pain. Okay, thanks, Howard. Kevin, I guess you were busy with the, anything else on your bench?
Well, that's it. No, I'm just been trying to keep up, and one of these days I'm going to do like you guys, get busy and retire.
Well, we'll find you a new project when we're wandering down in the boneyard at Dayton in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, I know. I've already got my list, and it's like, oh man, it's like it's deadly going down there because you find all kinds of stuff you want to do.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to start working on my list pretty soon too. I'm running out of some parts. Although, having said that, I'm not sure Dayton is the best place to buy SMT components and stuff. But anyway, we'll keep our eyes peeled. I think Ken had his hand up.
Yeah, Kevin, when you're ready to retire, let me know. We'll go to the bar and we'll drink.
Oh, for Christ. Okay. All right, Kevin, thanks for that. Marty, anything else on your bench besides the QDX?
Nothing besides the QDX at the moment. However, you can build this QDX for 9 volts or 12 volts. And I built it for 12 volts because I was running my other stuff on 12 volts portable. And but that's a decision you have to make ahead of time. Yeah. And I'm still ambivalent about whether I should have built it for 9 or 12. A 9-volt battery is a hell of a lot smaller than taking a car battery with you.
Well, you probably get an extra power out of 12 volts as well, is it not?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okie doke. So that, okay. I'm not sure if there's comment. You may want to read the comments section there. Okay, Michael, TKI, how are you tonight?
Oh, pretty good, but I have nothing to report. I haven't done any electronics for a long time, so I have plans, but I just haven't been able to get to anything. So
then we'll have to kidnap you and take you to Dayton with us, and that'll start planting the seeds.
Yeah,
I see.
I still have to. I have a breadboarded automatic antenna switch that Daniel and I built.
Right.
Are working on, but that's I've got a working breadboard, but I have to we have to decide how we're going to put it in a case and actually build it properly. That's for later on when Daniel's looking to retire, I think, in September. So we'll be able to do some of that in September, but nothing right now. No.
Okay.
Too many other things going on, non-radio stuff going on.
Okay, well, thanks for that, Michael, and maybe we'll get another one of these one weekend away at Eric's somewhere and get those creative juices flowing. Okay, and last on my list, but not least, is our friend from Georgia, Dwayne. Good evening. I don't know if you mentioned last time or not. I can't remember if you did. Are you dating or 4 days in May this year?
No, I'm going to pass up on 4 days in May this year. Haven't been doing much of anything in electronics at all. Weather's been too nice, and I've finally worked up the ambition to get out in the yard and do the unspeakable, like yard work.
We've been lucky. It's been raining for several days now, and so that makes it much easier to be in the shack instead of being out in the yard. Okay. So the last item I have on my list here is the meeting on the 17th. I think at the tail end of our last meeting, I think I was getting a bit of a gist that the rest, the ones who are not going to Dayton this year, we're thinking that maybe they'll give the meeting, the main meeting on the 17th, I think it is, a pass. What's the feeling of the guys who are not going to Dayton?
I agree.
I agree as well, Michael.
I agree. Yeah.
All right. So then I'll put a notice out. Then we'll cancel the meeting on the 17th
and put it on 24th.
And Well, I don't have any. I didn't have any. Didn't schedule any presentations in for the 17th, anyways. So we're not losing or have to. We don't have anything to push back there. So since we have a buy on the 17th, that'll give all you other guys there time to come up with another presentation. We could always use presentations. Or
I'd like to make a comment that thank you, Peter, for putting out the notice of the meeting 2 days ahead of time. I get my email by digest, so I always get it a day late. So when you put out something close to the date, I don't get it till a day later, and oops, missed that one.
You know what? That's a good point, because I used to try and put them out on a Friday or a Saturday at the latest, but I've been getting a little bit tardy on that end of things. So I had not thought about the guys who are doing the digest. So I'll keep that in mind. Okay. Okay, well, that brings us to the end. Oh, Dave, you got something to say?
Yeah, Peter, I just had a thought. This is just random thing that just popped into my head. You know what would be really cool? If we could do a live stream with the group at club night.
Is there an internet connection that we can get at that hotel?
I don't think it's possible. I don't think it's technically feasible for us to pull this off now. But wouldn't that be cool if we had the membership on, and it was live and people could come up and speak, and wouldn't that be cool?
Well, let's give that some thought. We'll be down there a couple of days before everything, so we can talk about that. And you know what? For Eric missing tonight's meeting in the fashion that he did, the penalty for him will be his data plan.
Yeah, it doesn't hurt him. He's right.
Okay, well, if we do happen to throw something together and throw it on there, we'll send an email to you guys.
What day is the?
If we do anything, it'll be under the SOAREX banner anyway.
What day is club night?
It'll be the Thursday. Oh no, club night is Friday night.
Friday. It's Friday
I won't
night.
be around.
It starts around 8 and goes until about 10, and usually it ends up at the bar. Afterwards, we gravitate both vendor nights on Thursday night, and then club nights on Friday night. And both nights we end up at the bar, and everyone flocks around us. Everyone. Last time it was, we had the guy from Hendrix, we had Hound Summers, and we even had Rex. And they were sitting together, drinking together.
Cool.
The two that don't get along sat side by side at the bar. Go figure.
I'll be there next year.
No, actually, it's a lot of fun being able to sit down with these guys and talk to the guys that write all these books and all these kits that we build, and you sit around there and have a drink with them. It's a lot of fun, that's for sure. Okay, well, I guess with that, then all I can say is that on the 17th, just fire up your Jitsi and just see if we're live streaming anything. Otherwise, so if we do, it'll be a very informal meeting. And what can I say? So I thank everybody for your participation. I think tonight we got up to around 14 people. That's good. And we'll catch you hopefully in a couple of weeks' time. If not, we'll see you in June. 7-3.
Have a good night.
Have fun, fellas.
Bye.
Hey, Dave, send me the video link. Oh, he's gone.
Dave, go already?
Yeah. All right. Talk to you guys later.
All right. See you guys.